Hi, everyone. Welcome to my Wellness for Powerful Women talk show here on LinkedIn. I'm so excited for today's episode. We're going to talk about something that is super exciting and also can be a little frustrating sometimes. That is why we have an expert here to talk to you about this. Today I want to talk about why your copy isn't converting into clients and what to do instead. We have an amazing copywriter here, Jill, to teach us all the tips and tricks about it. So Jill, why don't you just take a moment to introduce yourself and let us know what you do and who you help.
Yeah, absolutely. So my name is Jill Lutz. I'm a copywriter and resume writer, and I founded a company called Write with Jill. And to be honest, I've been writing all of my life. I can remember loving the written word and just having a lot of fun with it from a very early age. So it just kind of makes sense that my career has evolved into that. And so I help online business owners, primarily business coaches and other service-based providers in the virtual space to get their message across through copywriting. And it's so important when you work virtually to have your words come across in the right way. So I focus on helping people with content on landing pages, if you're having a sale for a new product or a service, blog posts and web pages and follow-up email sequences to remind your customers and your target audience, about your products and your services.
That is amazing, Jill, and so needed, especially if you're in the online space. And everyone here, I believe, is on the online space. So this is going to be super juicy. So if any of you have any questions for Jill, especially at the end, we're going to leave about 10 minutes after talking with Jill for about 20 minutes. So think about any questions you have and raise your hand at the end if you'd like to ask Jill something directly. Anyway, I'd love to dive into this a bit deeper because I know copy, it tends to be one of the things that can be really challenging for a lot of entrepreneurs, thinking of content all the time, thinking of what to write. And also, not only do we put time into it, but when you put time into it and it doesn't create clients, that's when it gets really frustrating.
Oh, absolutely.
Right? So it's like, oh my goodness. So I'd love to dive into this, Jill, and talk about maybe what are the top things you see that entrepreneurs are doing with their copy that is causing them to not get the results they want and not get the clients or the conversions they're looking for?
Sure. So one of the top things that I see is that, you offer a product and service, but you may not know exactly who your target audience is. Maybe you have an idea of who that target audience is, but when I say to know your target audience, you really want to kind of get down to the nitty gritty, understand their demographics. So think about their age. Are they male? Are they female? Or are they non-binary? Where do they work at? What do they like to do outside of work? And if they're working, what kind of industry are they in? And what other types of products and services do they use? Do they even maybe go to your competitor and use their products and services? So, one thing that I hear a lot is that, somebody might say, my target audience includes women business owners. And I think that's great, but, let's dive into that a little bit more. What does that woman business owner look like? Who's your ideal client? How long has that person been in business? What do they offer? Are they virtual, or do they have a bricks and mortar store? So those are the types of things that you really kind of want to narrow in before you even start writing your copy, because you need to actually speak to your target audience in a voice that they understand.
Right. And so it's so important. I love how specific you are with it because it's true. It's like I said, I talk to women business owners, but there's so many different types of business owners. So because it really matters. Like if I'm talking to someone who's leading a brick and mortar business, that's totally different from someone who's working at home all day on the computer. Like those are such different dynamics and different pain points and different desires that they might have. So it really does matter to really think about that.
Right, absolutely. And I think that speaking to your target audience in the language that they understand and that they speak is super important. I think that when we as business owners are writing our own copy, we tend to speak in the language that kind of resonates with us. And sometimes it's hard for us to put on our target audience's shoes and think in the way that they think and listen in the way that they would listen. So, talking to them at their level is really important.
That's a really challenging one personally for me. Like I get it because I wonder if other people can relate to this, because it's like if you're helping someone with a problem and if you haven't really been in the place where the problem was for a while, it could be really hard to put yourself there. Do you have any tips on how to help you really kind of empathize and get in their shoes, even if it's maybe you're not really going through the problem that you used to go through that they had, or you're not currently in that issue?
Right. No, that's a great question. So one of the things that I think we all have to realize as business owners is that our audience is buying for an emotional reason. And so if you can kind of identify what that emotional reason is, so for example, the top ones typically are fear, envy, pride, laziness, even. We've all experienced those types of emotions, every single one of us. So if you know that your target audience is most likely buying for that emotional reason, then we can kind of put ourselves in their shoes. We can empathize with them because we've all been there. And most likely your target audience is reaching out or searching for your type of product or service because they're feeling some sort of pain related to that emotion that they're feeling. And your product or your service can address or solve that pain. So, understanding that your target audience buys for an emotional reason and honing in your copy to that emotional reason is so critical. This is the copy that your target audience should see first and foremost. If it's on your website, you want to kind of address those pain points and get them to start feeling that emotion, right when they see, your website or your homepage, for example.
Right. And I really love that you pointed out the emotional piece, because this is a piece that I see so many, like I'm guilty of this too, my friends, if anyone else can relate to this, but like my friends, but like I don't think about the emotion when I write. I just think about, here's your problem, here's the solution. Like I see this a lot in posts, like we're just kind of like, here's the problem, here's the solution, but there's no emotional connection. And I really like thinking about, okay, if they're in fear, we all can relate to that. We all know what fear feels like. We all know what pain feels like. Let's just speak to that, and let's speak to how we could help them not be in that emotional pain. So that, I really love that, because when you focus on just their feeling, I feel like it feels a lot easier to write. Like you're not so in your rational brain, you're kind of more into the, how can I just connect with them? And I feel like that connection is what I see missing in so much content these days.
Absolutely. People buy from people that they like and that they connect with. So you're absolutely right. That connection is critical, not only when you're talking to somebody via Zoom, but certainly that connection also has to kind of happen with your copy. And that's a pretty challenging thing for anybody to do.
Right. I was just going to ask you. I was like, so how do you how do you connect with copy and words? Like, what do you think makes a post that is good at connecting in a genuine way? Like, what elements does a post need to do that? And I know this is kind of formulaic. I'm sure it's like individualized, but I'm just curious what your thoughts are.
Yeah, no, that's a great question. So I think that when you're writing copy and say you're writing a blog post and you really want to be as authentic as you can, in a blog post, you're kind of capturing attention first and foremost with a headline, and you're using that through words that can try to get that emotion to come out. So you don't want to start out with, the main reason for this is why you should buy this. You want your headline to be catchy, and the first words that the first words of any headline should be kind of catchy. And there's like headline analyzers that can help you with this. One of my favorite headline analyzers is called CoSchedule. And so I use CoSchedule a lot whenever I'm developing headlines for blog posts, email sequences, or even on a social media caption, just to kind of see, am I writing in a way that creates that kind of emotion, and does it meet people at their level? But I think coming and telling the story, once you get past that headline, I think just telling the story authentically, but also as concisely as you can. So it's actually really hard to write less.
Oh, yes.
We have a tendency to write more than we probably need to when we tell a story, or when we're writing a blog post, or even writing an email. So, telling that story quickly is great, getting your message across, and then putting together some type of call to action at the end. And it doesn't all have to be a sales piece. Like, blog posts really aren't necessarily sales pieces. They're meant to educate, inform your audience, and to really start to get them thinking about, about your product or about your service. So your call to action can be, pretty simple, and it doesn't have to be the same all the time. If you want people to just chat with you about their issue that they're having, or how they relate to the blog, you can offer that, hey, it's a no obligation call, let's chat about things. Other call to actions are helpful too. And it can be a little bit different for each product or service, but I think you kind of get where I'm coming from, that, a catchy headline, being authentic, and then, being as concise as possible is generally the key.
Right, and I love the point you're talking about with being concise, because definitely true, it's so much harder to be concise. And just a little side story. So I was a nurse for 8 years, and I was notorious for being the nurse that writes way too damn much. Like, my documentation notes were like freaking novels, and all the doctors were like, oh my God, this is the nurse that writes way too much. So anyway, so I'm curious for you, what are your tips on being concise? Because it could be so hard, because you really have to think. It requires more effort to be concise, but then you also want to be emotional. So do you have any strategies on how to keep your message concise but also potent still?
Oh, sure. So one of the things that I do is that I write out as much as I can possibly write out. And so, when I'm writing a blog post or an email, I never go with that first draft. I actually have to step away from it for several hours, and then come back. And when I come back and reread it, then I gain some additional clarity as to what I need to do next. So I think writing out, getting whatever you can off of your chest is key, but then coming back later and just highlighting the key points. And you can read through, highlight on a Google Doc. You can highlight, if you tend to handwrite things, you can highlight that way. But then you start putting your message together. And, a lot of times blog posts, 300 to 500 words, you can keep it to that. If it's a longer blog, maybe up to 700, great. But I think for, a standard blog post where you're just really trying to educate and inform about a single topic, I think no more than 500 words is fine.
Right. Okay. All right. I love that. Like, just allow your brain to have a bit of like a brain dump, and just let yourself write out what you want, so you could just see what message you're trying to formulate, but then look back on it give yourself time to just really look through it and see what the main points you're trying to drive home is, and then you could convey that in a concise way. And I think something too that I found kind of helpful is like if you read your post and you notice in your own body that you just want to like, stop reading, or you're just like, you just want to like kill yourself like reading this thing, it's like, okay, that's probably, it needs to be like, something needs to be cut there. Like, what do we not need to hear? Like checking in with your own body when you read your own content. Like, is this something that makes me want to pull my hair out when I read it to myself?
That's a great tip. You do have to pay attention to that, because if you yourself, and these are your words, if you're starting to get a little cringy, then you probably need to scale it back some more.
Right. Oh my God, I love that. And one more thing I want to ask you about, because this is what we were talking about before we got into today's call, is I'd love for you to speak a little bit about the piece of authenticity, because I just want to know how you define it and how you can incorporate your own essence, your own authenticity into your content without seeming like you're forcing it. Like, how do you do that in a way that seems actually genuine? What do you have to say about authenticity?
Sure. So, I think most of us have gone into business for ourselves for a particular reason. We've been driven to it in some way, shape, or form. So we may have, a very personal story that we could share with our prospective customers that could really resonate with them. And I think that if you have that story, I think it's okay. You can give yourself permission to share that story. You don't have to share everything all at once, but there are aspects of your life where you can connect with your customers in an authentic way, and people will read that. That will resonate with somebody. So I just think really being upfront and open, and that is hard. Not everybody is an open book and likes to share stories about themselves, especially if we have failed or if we have been less successful in some way, shape, or form. And, it's okay. I give you permission to share those stories, because that is going to resonate with your audience in a way that you probably can't even consider right now.
Oh my God. And I thank you for that permission, because I need it. And I think so many of us do. It could feel really unsafe to share a story sometimes. You might think like nobody cares about this, or it's not relatable, or I have nothing interesting to say. But honestly, even the most mundane things could be great connections. Like, I'm looking at Julie, I'm pointing out Julie here on this call, and literally she made an email about her cat team. Like, she posted about all the cats that she takes care of, and her mission of wanting to make like a sanctuary for cats. And I was like, I connected with that email because I was like, dude, that is so dope, and I love her mission, and it just made me love Julie more. Like, I already love Julie, but man, that email made me love her even more. But yeah, it could even be something simple. So I love that you said that, like, share a story, have the permission to do that, and anything you could really find anything to connect with someone. So I love that piece so much. So I do want to leave some time to have some questions or comments, any aha moments for anyone if you'd love to share. So now I'm leaving the floor open to all y'all. And in the meantime, if you're thinking of something to say, Jill, I would love to just hear more about where people can find you online, and if you're offering anything to help online entrepreneurs with copy, like what do you do?
Yeah, absolutely. So, first and foremost, anybody who wants to chat with me about their copy, I offer that discovery call, that conversation that we can have to see if it makes sense for us to write together. And writing together really is key, because I feel that I need to get to know my prospective clients, as well as possible in order to write for them and to convey them in the way that they want to be out there in the world. So I'm on Instagram right now. My best handle is at jill.d.lutz. And then you can find me there. But then I also have a discovery call link through Calendly as well that I can share with everybody.
Yay, amazing. And I love that so much, Jill, that people could find you. And yay, Leslie has a question, so I will promote her to speak. Okay, praying to the LinkedIn gods that it goes through, man. Let me just see. Okay, allow. All right, I'm saying allowed to speak. So when I say allowed to speak, Leslie, I think LinkedIn will prompt you to do something it'll ask if LinkedIn has your permission to use your microphone or something like that. So just kind of scan on your browser if there's a prompt like that somewhere. And if you don't see it, you might need to refresh your browser. I feel like the audio events is a little glitchy sometimes, but let me know if you see anything there, Leslie. Because yeah, when I click allow to speak, nothing happens.
Anytime you have a new platform like this, there's always some quirks to work out.
Right. Which is part of business.
It's absolutely.
It's just like I love that LinkedIn is doing it in a messy way. And same with our copy. Like, give yourself some permission for the copy to be a little messy too.
Sure.
Okay, Leslie, I'll try you one more time. Hopefully, let's see if it goes. Yeah, like, check out. Okay, because I know some other people had issues with this before. Like, I think it won't even show the microphone for some people. So it gets a little weird. So, you could try just refreshing the whole entire browser and then coming back to the event page and clicking join again. Try that out. If not, okay, I think she's trying it. So we'll see because she's gone.
No.
Yeah. Yay. All right. Let's see if this works. This is what entrepreneurship's about, just trying and trying and trying. And copy. It's about trying and trying and trying. Oh, yeah, it worked. Hey, yay. Okay, so you should be able to unmute Leslie. Let's see. Oh, she's back down.
Okay. Oh, we were so close.
I know, we're getting there. This feels like business.
Okay, I finally found where the microphone was. It was and by the way, I'm on my phone. I'm not on my computer at the moment.
Oh,
that's the beauty of this audio only is you can it's like a podcast. You can just listen to it. This has been a great discussion. My question is Jill, can you kind of speak on how do you know when I post primarily on LinkedIn, and how do I know that I'm on the right path with my content? That is it because so many people just read it and may never comment or even give any type of indication that they've read it. So that only leaves the engagement, I guess. I forget what that indicator is called on LinkedIn. As far as the numbers, of people that have, I guess, clicked on your post to read it.
Right.
So anyway, I don't know if you have any thoughts there as to, I guess it comes back to tracking your numbers.
Well, I think that social media is one of those funny things because we put content out there and we automatically expect some type of response. And sometimes, like you described, we feel like we're talking into this, this void where we know we're talking, but is anybody listening? And I think that if you're getting likes, I think that's a great thing to get. Sometimes I think asking for people to do something with your post is good. I know recently I put a post out there. It was just yesterday, as a matter of fact. It's like, tell me your favorite quote that you use to motivate you. And I think that's one way you can get your audience, give them permission to, comment on the post. So it can be a little bit about that, giving them a reason to respond. But the other thing too, I think, engagement with your audience is really key. I think when you're on your social media platforms, I do think that if you have people liking your posts, I think that's great. You can then even have that as a reason to message them and say, hey, I saw that you liked a few of my posts, and I just wanted to say thank you for reading my posts. I hope that you find the content useful and will continue to follow me, in the weeks to come. And that can start a conversation with somebody. And I think that anytime you're doing any type of engagement, and LinkedIn is a great platform for you to be on, Leslie, because it's the epitome of networking. And so you're really starting a conversation and ultimately networking with people, because you just never know who that person is or what their needs are and who they might know as well.
Great points. Thank you. Thank you for that.
You're welcome.
And I love that point too, Jill, because honestly, like, a sales conversation doesn't even have to come from your post. Like, I've been on Instagram before where I literally shared a story about my cat, and then someone I knew, like a friend of mine before, responded to my Instagram story and said something about cats, and then I just started a conversation with her, and then that led to a sale. So I love that whole thing of like content could be kind of like the gateway to just starting conversations with a client. Like,
yeah.
And obviously it could also lead to people booking calls. Like, content could like, if you communicate that well in the post, like what the purpose of the post is, and you communicate like, okay, this post, like, this is why, this is what I do, this is a problem you have, this is how I could help, like things like that. Sign up here to get the help you need. Like, you could communicate that, but also content could just be like Jill said, like the pathway, the gateway to having people talk to you. And sometimes all they need is a conversation, and that can lead to a sale. So I love that aspect of it too.
There you go.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you, Leslie, for that amazing question.
That was a great question.
Yes, thank you, everyone. And I want to be mindful of everyone's time. So thank you all for joining us in today's Wellness for Powerful Women audio event. So grateful to have you here, Jill. It was so awesome to hear your insights and wisdom. Oh, yay, look at the round of applause. I love seeing reactions. Reactions light me up here on audio events. I'm like, yay. I just love emojis and stuff. So thank you guys for your love. Thank you for your enthusiasm and for your engagement. And if you want to reach Jill, you guys, check out her LinkedIn, send her a message, go to her Instagram at jill.d.lutz, and let's stay connected. All right, but everyone, thank you so much for tuning in today.
Thank you, Charmaine.
All right, and I'll put a replay of this episode. If you want to go back to it, it will be on my YouTube channel at youtube.com/sugarfree-self-care-TV. And I'll put all of Jill's links in this audio event page and also in the YouTube channel replay. Thank you all so much.
Bye.
Bye.